All right. Well, on that note, let's go ahead and get started. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm Liz. I'm the Senior Marketing and Communications Manager at MediaCause. We'll introduce the rest of our panelists in just a moment here. But before we get started, I want to just do a few quick housekeeping items. If you haven't used Zoom before, just a few helpful things to do. So I just enabled the chat. So if you have anything that comes up or you want to comment throughout, you can feel free to use that chat function. If you want to talk, we would suggest that you save that for the end when we do our Q&A, but there is a button to raise your hand to be able to speak. And then lastly, the Q&A platform is really the best way to go. If you have any questions throughout, it's easier for us to keep track and make sure that nothing gets missed in the chat. And lastly, there's also, if you hit the CC button on the bottom, you're able to turn on closed captioning as well. And with that, I'd like to introduce our panelists that will be joining us today. So we have Patty, who is our Associate Director of Social and Influencer Marketing at MediaCause. We have Melvin Carcenti, who's our Senior Account Director. And then we have Olivia Laura as well joining us from the It Gets Better Project, where she's the Senior Communications Manager of Social Media. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Patty to start us off.
Thanks, Liz. All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today. We're excited to get rolling here. Before we dive into the nuts and bolts of all things influencer marketing, we wanted to take the temperature of the audience first and see who here has already activated influencers or partnered with influencers across their social media platforms. So if you don't already, you'll see a poll asking whether or not you've worked with influencers before, and just feel free to answer in the poll first. And then if you're comfortable, drop your answer in the chat as well. So I'll give everyone a second to do that.
Getting a lot of yeses right now. Oh, now we're on an even split. So I'll give it another minute here for everyone to put in their votes.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. So looks like it's kind of stopped for the moment. So we have a 60-40 split. 60% said yes and 40% said no.
All right, that's pretty good. Okay, so looking like 60% of you have worked with influencers before in some capacity, and that's amazing. If you answered yes and you don't mind dropping what platform you've partnered with influencers on, I'd love to just get a sense of where you're activating them on. And no worries if we don't feel like using the chat today. All right, I'm just going to keep moving then. So for the 40% of you that answered no, we're hoping that this presentation will help you feel just a little bit more confident in exploring this really exciting and fun marketing strategy. Oh, okay, here I'm seeing Instagram and TikTok. Yeah, I would assume that's like the usual suspects. So that's great. So keeping in mind that about 60% of you have already reported working with influencers in the past, in 2022, about 50% of nonprofits across the country reported working with influencers. And there are a number of reasons why an organization may hold off on experimenting with this newer marketing strategy, but we hope to clear up some of the confusion around what goes on behind the scenes in creating a successful campaign when the opportunity arises. So most nonprofits decide to activate influencers with the goal of increasing awareness for their mission, earning support among new audiences, and improving their online reach and credibility. Inspiring new audiences to engage with your organization and or reigniting passions and interests from existing supporters are just a few reasons why nonprofits opt to partner with influencers and creators. We've recently worked with nonprofits like March of Dimes, Big Brothers Big Sisters Arkansas, American Cancer Society, and more to design innovative influencer campaigns in the past year. Below, we mentioned some other notable nonprofits who are actively using influencers and creators in innovative ways. And soon you'll be hearing from one of those inspiring orgs and how they make the magic happen. So there are many different and effective ways to activate influencers and partner with creators on social. And it can depend on a number of factors, from the strengths of the creator you'd like to work with to the platform that your organization is looking to expand follower growth on. The possibilities are endless, especially with newer platform capabilities like donation buttons, collaboration tags, etc. And here we wanted to take a look at two fun yet very different examples of orgs partnering with influencers using Instagram Reels. For the sake of time, we chose 2 reels because we felt that they did a great job of demonstrating what this partnership work can look like and just how impactful it can be. And later, we'll take a deeper look under the hood of 2 case study examples to show how the back-end process results in such wonderful content outcomes. So first, we'll watch this video from drag queen environmentalist icon herself, Patagonia. Here, she's partnering with nonprofit Outdoors Oath to spread the word about their hiking gear donation buyback program. It's hilarious, it's wonderful, and I'm just gonna stop talking so we can all, watch for ourselves.
You have old gear laying around that you're literally doing nothing with? You have an excess sleeping bag laying around your garage and you want to swipe and like, cool, I need it. You're going back and it turns into part of the park catch or the outdoor stuff. You're going to donate your used gear via a free prepaid shipping. Your gear arrives at your fix. Hi, Matt. They're beautiful. They put them in their store, then someone buys them. And then all the proceeds are donated to the Outdoors of an amazing nonprofit to support planet, inclusion, and adventure. High five. Oh, yeah. Do it. You know you want to. Print the damn label. Go to the link in our bio. It is that easy. Donate your used gear. Support an amazing outdoor nonprofit. And tell a friend about it. You know you want to give a damn. Well, my carabiner here.
All right, I know that the volume might have been low at first, but so if you didn't catch the beginning, highly recommend going to Patagonia's page and checking it out. It's a wonderful, wonderful video. So I'm not sure if everyone could kind of catch the end, but if people want to take a second and drop a few words about what they might have liked about this video, we can also skip that again if it was too hard to hear. I'm just going to say that I love how this video nods to and pokes fun at nostalgic infomercials that we all grew up watching while still delivering a very clear CTA call to action. So yeah, if you have any thoughts, feel free to leave them in the chat, but if not, we can just keep rolling to the next video. I'll give everyone a second. Okay, no worries. All right, so next we wanted to share this example from Peanut, a very special rescue dog influencer. Yes, pets can be influencers too, whose mom uses his page to advocate for homeless animals. Here in this video, Peanut and his mom partnered with One Love Arizona, a nonprofit that rescues and rehabilitates at-risk dogs. Among the work, they also advocate for shelter animals. They provide free spay and neuter services. And I'm just going to warn you all now, this video is very cute, slight tearjerker, but definitely take notice of the key differences from the first example that we showed.
Hi, do you have old gear laying?
It's adorable. So this video was such a huge win because while there was never an obligation on the influencer's part to fly to the shelter, they offered to anyway because they felt so compelled by this partnership and by One Love Arizona's mission. And that's just part of the magic that can come with partnering with influencers. So next, we'll get into what this work could mean for your nonprofit's digital presence and the impact that it can have on your work. So when we talk about influencer and creator marketing, it's important to note that it requires a human touch. Why? Well, because influencer marketing isn't just advertising, it's storytelling. It's human-centered, or as you saw, it can also be pet-centered. But when you go on your own social media pages, I'm sure that you all follow a creator or an influencer on your own. Maybe it's for their unique perspective. Maybe it's because they say the things you are always thinking, or maybe it's because they just have really great recipes and really great skincare routines. And whatever the reason is, we all follow and value the influencers in our digital communities because they offer a unique perspective that brands, celebrities, and our regular old friends just don't have. So one point I'd really like to drive home is this: creators and influencers, even those with smaller followings, can provide great value to your organization, especially if they're an expert in a niche field or have cultivated engaged audiences. And like with anything in life, influencer marketing is quality over quantity. Well, everything except for reality TV, but I won't get into that. And the right influencers and creators, they exude authenticity, relatability, and credibility, which today's younger audiences really value. So I invite you all to check out this one creator, Cyber Farida, shown here on the right. She eats, sleeps, and breathes cybersecurity. It's her niche, and she devotes her time and career to creating content and resources for others to use to protect their kids online. When working with Love 146, an anti-child trafficking organization, we were presented with a pretty big challenge. They wanted to partner with an influencer on a post about child trafficking, but through the lens of cybersecurity. They were very protective of who they worked with, and they explained that their messaging needed to be portrayed sensitively and very specifically. They were worried about hitting the right tone with an influencer and finding a good fit for the partnership as a whole. Enter Farida, who was an expert in her own right. Not only did Love 146 enjoy working with her, but they were able to tap into her niche audience and expand their reach in an incredible and an organic way. And they partnered with her by using 2 Instagram Reels. So what do creators bring to the table? Well, to add to the examples previously shown, creators bring authenticity, their niche and engaged audiences, and expert content creation to the table. And look, we've all had the jarring experience of trying to create a polished TikTok reel. And once hour 2 goes by and you barely have an intro together, you realize that being an influencer is really no easy job. If it was, we'd probably all do it. So let's leave it to the experts. And when you want a vision for a campaign to be brought to life in a new way, influencer marketing really is a great place to start. We tell our clients all the time, influencers shouldn't be thought of solely as distribution for sponsored content or ads. Nonprofits can leverage them to add more personality, humor, realness, and emotional connections to their brand. Influencer marketing should be seen as an effective extension of your brand and existing organic and paid social efforts. All right, so now we'll take a moment to peel back the curtain and show what influencer marketing strategies and execution look like behind the scenes versus on stage. All right, so before I dive in here, I do want to note that this very clean 5-part list is what we do here at MC to bring your influencer marketing goals to life. However, this is a very, very, very high level look at the way in which we work. What isn't listed here is all the lovely back and forth that goes on when managing and activating influencers. This is not a formulaic rinse and repeat process. And with each influencer, the workflow may look slightly different. Remember when I said this work was human-centered? Yeah. Well, for example, you may have agents involved, or your briefs may be developed totally differently and tailor-made based on each influencer you're activating for a campaign. But for now, I'll just walk you through the above steps, not get into all that. So first, we kick off with your team and we work with you to gather all the necessary info on your goals, your needs, and your hopes for the campaign or overarching strategy. This phase is when we will confirm budgets, align on influencer profiles, and begin developing strategy and messaging points. Next, we work with your team to come up with a list of influencers that we think you should partner with and activate. We work together to narrow down this list on folks that we think you should go ahead and pursue, or we would pursue. Then we bring the plan to life by connecting with the influencers, developing and sending briefs and contracts, shepherding the content through the approval process, and ensuring everything is delivered and published on time. Reminder, we do work with your team every step of the way, so you have a clear idea of what's going on. It's very collaborative. And lastly, when it's all complete and everything is posted, we'll develop and send wrap-up reports with clear measurements of the campaign success, takeaways, and further recommendations. So I know that was a lot to digest. So I wanted to just see how everyone was feeling. Now we have like another example, so we can not hear me talk for a second. So a bit more show and tell. Here we go. Here's an example of an influencer partnership that I absolutely loved working on. It's between James Rose, a trans actor, LGBTQ+ advocate, and overall phenomenal human being, and the Ali Forney Center, a New York City-based nonprofit that provides food, shelter, health services, and mental health services to homeless LGBTQ+ youth. We tapped James to post 2 Instagram reels for the Ali Forney Center to 1, raise awareness for their organization, and 2, to promote their year-end dance-a-thon event that raised critical funds for meals for homeless LGBTQ+ youth ahead of the holiday season. So if you don't mind playing the reel, that would be great, Liz.
As an extremely famous influencer of beauty and also dance, I think I know something that you may not know about. I am not a gatekeeper, so I'm going to tell you 3 things. And the first of which, this is the wrong slide. Wait, this is the surprise. The first is that everybody deserves to be able to dance in a safe space and celebrate the unique way their body moves. That's me. Second is that everyone deserves access to nourishing food and to food security, which is something I learned when I was recovering from my eating disorder. And the third is that 1 in 5 transgender people will experience homelessness at some point in their lifetime. Which brings us back to our surprise slide. And this Sunday, Trans Day of Remembrance, the Ali Forney Center is hosting a dance-a-thon. We are fusing NYC nightlife with queer chefs in order to raise money for Ali Forney's year-round meals program that helps get food to LGBTQ youth experiencing homelessness. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be dancing. And if I see you there, I am definitely going to give you a huge consensual hug. Maybe I'll bring back this outfit.
Yeah, James is an icon. So to kick back to a few slides ago, James brought 3 majorly valuable pieces to the table here. First, authenticity. While it wasn't required, James talked about their personal lived experience as a way to connect their content to AFC's ultimate mission and goal. Second, James tapped into their niche and engaged audience, which was mostly NYC based, resulting in an average engagement rate of 4.35% on their videos, and they raised $150 from their unique sign-up link provided at the link in bio, in their link in bio. And third, James brought their expert content creation skills. I think that was very clearly shown, so won't get too much into that. So here on the left, we wanted to provide a portion of the brief that we created for James, which details how they could create messaging around AFC's Dance-a-thon event. This is to give you all an idea of the variance between the input, which is the brief, and the sort of output, the published content, and what's produced afterwards. While a clear yet concise brief is among truly one of the most critical steps in this influencer activation workflow process, finding the right partner to carry it out is just as important. And as you previously saw, James was able to take the brief and bring it to life in a very surprising and new way. And that's just part of the power of partnering with influencers. What you didn't get to see from this video, but James did mention, is that they not only delivered the reels, but they integrated attending the event into their content strategy. And it wasn't mandatory, but they attended the event and they ended up meeting the entire AFC team while they were there, which just builds stronger connections that go further than any digital partnership can. All right. So enough of me talking for a minute, as promised. I'd love to turn it over now to Olivia from the It Gets Better Project to give us all a look into the way they work with influencers each day. Welcome, Olivia. Thanks so much for joining. If you wouldn't mind just giving everyone a brief intro into the wonderful It Gets Better Project.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. The It Gets Better Project, if you're not familiar, as a nonprofit, we've been around, I think this is our 12th year. And so our mission is to uplift, empower, and connect LGBTQ+ youth around the globe. And so we kind of got our start as this sort of viral moment 12 years ago when people and various celebrities started making their own It Gets Better videos to kind of talk about how things were for them growing up LGBTQ plus and how things eventually got better as a way to sort of encourage the next generation and give them some hope. So out of that sort of viral video campaign, the actual nonprofit was formed. So yeah, nowadays we still do a lot of storytelling. That's one of our main 3 arms of the organization. So we have tons of web series and personal stories and videos on our YouTube and on all of our other social channels. Yeah, and the other 2 arms are also global. So we're in, I want to say 19 countries now. We have global affiliates in various other countries around the world. They sort of have their own little It Gets Better project in their own country. And then our 3rd arm is education. So we do corporate trainings, we do trainings in schools with GSA clubs, and we have a ton of free resources online as well. And we work directly with this like amazing group of LGBTQ teens every year, who are sort of like ambassadors for our organization as well. So that's like a very brief about all of the things that we do as an organization.
Amazing. Yeah, it's really exciting to get the chance to work with you guys. And would you mind just telling us a little bit more about how influencers and creators play into your overall social strategy?
Yeah, of course. So, us being a storytelling organization, we're really used to working with creators and influencers and storytellers and kind of showcasing their voice and their story. So that's something that we've kind of always done since the beginning. And so in the last few years, we started up our TikTok presence. Our target audience is kids who are 13 to 18. So of course it made a lot of sense for us to be on TikTok because that's where those kids are. And so, yeah, we were able to get our start through a program TikTok had called the Creative Learning Fund. But ever since then, we kind of have built this program from the ground up with our TikTok creators. So it's actually an application process, but we scout out some voices as well each round. People apply to become a TikTok creator. And yeah, we work with a group of, I want to say 10 to 15 people every 6 months. So we sort of have this rotating cast of TikTok creators who are just always featured on our channel, telling their stories, telling youth things that they wish they had learned growing up, doing some educating. And then we actually have a really similar program on our Twitch channel as well. So we're sort of always constantly working with creators in some capacity, which is how we have enough TikTok content to post multiple times a week.
Absolutely. That's amazing. And I absolutely love the way that you guys leverage creators and partners. And it's really cool to hear about that rotating program. So thank you so much. So moving to, I'd love to welcome now Melvin, our senior account manager here at Media Cause. And he's going to speak alongside Olivia about the 50 States, 50 Grants, 5,000 Voices campaign and the work that MC did with IGB to bring this campaign to life.
Yeah, and I can give you all a little bit of a background on this campaign so you kind of understand what our needs were. But yeah, 50 States, 50 Grants, 5,000 Voices was a campaign we started last year in 2022. And it was based off of a grant we got from one of our biggest partners. So the idea behind this grant was that we wanted to distribute the funds to various middle school and high schools throughout the country. So like our big stretch goal was to give a grant to a school in every state and US territory. And the grants were specifically for programs that would support their LGBTQ plus students. And so we wanted to give these $10,000 grants for those types of projects. And this was big. Like, I don't think any other queer nonprofit of our size has ever done something like this. You know, $10,000 grants to a school in every state is like a big deal. And so the way it worked was on an application basis. So a student would pair up with a teacher. They would submit an application for the grant. They would tell us what their idea was and how they were going to use the funds. So maybe starting their school's first ever Pride parade, or building a gender neutral restroom, or a gender affirming closet where kids can go and find clothing that they feel comfortable in. So they would submit this application with their idea. and we would choose the grant winners. And so where Media Cause came into the picture was just getting the word out about this program and making sure people applied, because it was basically free money, and we wanted to make sure students and their teachers knew that this was an opportunity. So yeah, that's where Media Cause came into the picture, and we sort of built this UGC campaign to help raise awareness for the applications.
Awesome. Thanks, Olivia. Thanks, Patty, and hi, everybody. And yes, as Olivia mentioned, this was a brand new campaign, so we had to build everything from scratch. So we built a full user journey from raising awareness to making sure people started and submitted their application. We built a really fun and dynamic microsite, really keeping youth in mind, to send people there so they could better understand the campaign. We ran paid media to reach both students and educators across the country, but especially in, I would say, more conservative states. And then we leverage influencer marketing in that influencer campaign to really raise awareness, I would say, in a more, and like Patty was saying earlier, in a more personal and authentic way, to make sure that we were both reaching It Gets Better existing audience, but also people that may have not known about them before the campaign, and really getting in front of them.
Amazing. Yeah. And so to give you all a look into what we did for this influencer campaign, as you know, we partnered with IGB on everything from soup to nuts. So kickoff call to wrap-up report. We ID'd creators, specifically educators, who identified themselves as advocates for LGBTQ+ youth, to partner with for this ultimate larger UGC campaign. And we decided that with teachers heavily relying on TikTok to share everything from their experiences to the work itself, to how they set up their classrooms, and with them sharing like feel-good stories about students. If you search #TeacherTalk, it's very lively on there. We just felt that this platform and audience was the perfect match for this campaign. So we developed the activation strategy, keeping in mind educators, and created a content brief that gave the influencers an opportunity to acknowledge the important role that educators had in their own lives. And we just called the content campaign, after sort of mulling it over and going over like multiple hashtag potentials, we landed on #FavoriteTeacher. Simple, effective. And one of the main points was that we wanted anyone to be able to, from adults to youth, chime in with using the hashtag with their own experiences on their favorite teachers or mentors growing up, and who made an impact in their lives. So our influencers ended up sharing moving TikToks, and they took their personal stories and were able to connect it to the larger mission of spreading the word about IGB, while also spreading the word about the grant program. So now for the fun part, we're going to watch some of these favorite teacher videos.
I went to high school in the 1980s. You know, big hair, MTV, punk rock, mixtapes, and arcades. It might be shocking to hear that my favorite teacher was my high school chemistry teacher, Mrs. Domke. She was welcoming, smart, engaging, and made everyone feel included to learning chemistry. In fact, one demonstration she shared resulted in the shattering of the glass jar she was attempting to suck an egg out of to demonstrate air pressure. But chemistry wasn't the biggest lesson I learned from Mrs. Domke. What I learned most was that being your true self will make you happy. And it's okay to be happy. The 1980s had a lot of positive gay people, and I was one of them. I didn't come out until later in life, and I did it for happiness. I will forever be thankful for Mrs. Domke, not just for chemistry, but for teaching me the importance of being happy and how happiness benefits the people around you.
I think all of my favorite teachers growing up were always a little bit unhinged, especially emotional support English teachers, which every little queer kid like me had. My favorite was this guy I had sophomore year named Mr. Rouse. There was a theory that he had won the lottery and he just came to school for something to do. He had a lot of assignments that I'm pretty sure were not endorsed by the administrative staff. He gave us a 100-page spiral notebook at the beginning of the year and said that in order to get an A in the class, you had to fill it with things that you wrote. But I'm like 90% sure that was the only grade in the class. Mostly he would come in and we would just pick a topic and discuss it for the entire period. What is beauty? beauty, I think took us 3 full class days. Like really, I think that's the best part of classes like English. Just enough time and space to explore who you are in writing and reading. I really hope he did win the lottery because he deserved it.
Tell me about a teacher that changed your life. I'll go first. If I'm being honest, I wish I had a teacher like me growing up, but I did have this one art teacher. Her name was Miss H, and I will never forget her to this day. Miss H was the kind of teacher who would make you feel super comfortable in your own skin, but was like low-key a hard ass, but then was also like really nice when she wanted to be. Like, don't get her mad or pissed off because that's when the hard ass comes out. Being a closeted member of the Alphabet Mafia during my high school years, I always felt like I could be myself with her. And she was like one of the first people that I like low-key told, you know, like I didn't tell her, but like she already knew. And like it was just an unspoken truth. I genuinely hope and pray that in schools across the nation, across the world, that somebody has a teacher like me, like Miss H, and like a teacher that you may have had. And I try to do the same for my kids today. Tell me
I
about
went
a
to high
teacher
school.
that
Thanks. I really love those videos. So not only were they impactful, but seeing the comments that came through in all of these videos, and there were more, and the additional #favorite teacher TikToks that folks produced and posted on their own volition, and to see the increase in IGB's profile views during that time, it marked a serious win for us. And now I'm going to kick it to Melvin to just speak a little bit more about the overall campaign results.
Thanks, Fatty. We were extremely happy with the result, both of what you see on the screen, but I think from I would say a holistic account perspective, the influencer campaign really did what it was designed to do, which was really raising awareness and connecting with the audience. And you can see the 104 million views we had on TikTok, which was awesome. I'll note too that we also were able to partner directly with TikTok during that campaign, which really help in bringing additional visibility to the campaign. But overall, we received over 200 applications from students and educators across 40 states, which was awesome. And it gets better, was able to donate $500,000 in grants to 50 schools across the country, which was awesome. And so it was extremely successful. I can't remember, Olivia, if you already mentioned that we did a season 2 that just wrapped up in the US that was also successful, and that was also in Canada this year.
Yeah, and like Melvin said, the campaign was so successful. We just wrapped up season 2, and I think we had even an additional state or 2 that didn't apply last year that applied this year, which was really exciting to see. So yeah, it was a good success, enough for us to do it again a second time.
Amazing. Thank you both so much. So with that, we'd love to open it up to the audience to ask any additional questions about the process, the work, about influencers in general, or if you have any additional questions for Olivia, please feel free. You can use the Q&A feature below, and we'll try to get to everyone's questions. I'd also like to introduce my colleague, Tiffany Rivers, Senior Director of Social here at Media Cause, who may chime in with some answers with me.
Oh, Liz, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. I was just going to say a couple came in as you were going throughout, so we can start with those, and then if people have any, they can continue to drop in the Q&A. I can read for you. The first one is, how do you partner with organizations throughout the process?
So it's a very collaborative process, and I'll definitely let Tiffany chime in here if she wants. But essentially, when we're first approached by an organization to work on influencer work, we really like to meet with them. And like we said, during a kickoff call and an RFI process, we try to gather as much information, understand comfort levels, understand priorities, goals, and throughout the entire, further up in the presentation, that 5 bulleted list, we're communicating each step of the way. There is a point if, different orgs may do it differently and may want For example, us to carry out the entire process from outreach all the way to the end execution and reporting. And so we're always in touch with the organization. We're running content approvals through you guys so that you have a lot of visibility into what's going on. But we maintain a lot of the outreach and communications over email and through a tool that we use, just so that you're not bombarded with all of the back and forth that may go into the process. But yeah, if there's anything I left out, Tiffany, feel free to chime in.
I think you did a great job describing the process. I think backing up a little further, to the scoping, we would have members of our sales team and account team meet with you to just make sure we nail down your needs and scope out the project. Sometimes these projects last, 3 to 4 months. Sometimes we're doing this work in conjunction with other social media efforts or landing pages or, other work that we do with the agency. So it goes in sequence and, aligns with the other work that's being done. So similar to how we would engage with you with any other project, you'll have a dedicated account lead, and we would make sure to kind of walk through everything with you very collaboratively.
Great. And then I've got a couple that are kind of similar here, so I'm going to combine them together. So are influencers typically paid when partnering with a nonprofit, or is there any way to get them to support us for free?
I'll jump in here. It really varies. We've seen some influencers and creators who this is what they do for a living. So this is, how they sustain themselves. And so they have fee structures that vary. They can vary anywhere between, under $1,000 to, a few thousand per deliverable. But there are instances in which creators and influencers will do this work either pro bono or pro bono light. It really just depends. And that's kind of that nuanced nature that Patty was talking about that goes on behind the scenes, in which we like to walk you through and support you in, is how you approach those conversations with these individuals. And, if you're doing something that's more long-term, like what you heard Olivia mention, the fee structure may look different, but we're really keen on valuing the work that influencers do, and we want to make sure that it is a win-win for both the nonprofit and the creators themselves. And so we will advise you on, coming in with a certain budget, or, negotiating throughout the process on, getting the most cost efficient deliverable for your campaign. Olivia, do you want to add anything here in terms of like cost or working?
Yeah, I can just add a little bit. So us as a nonprofit, we actually have a budget for our TikTok creators, our Twitch creators, and other influencer marketing, just because we're such a digital media focused organization. That's something that we've prioritized. And like I said, we got our start as a bit of a partner with TikTok, who was able to give us a grant for that first year. And then we've been able to keep that support up since on our own to pay our creators. So we're lucky enough that we always pay all of our creators because, we value their time. And like Tiffany said, some people do this as their job. And so I think, though, that people that were really have really strong relationships with will often waive their fee for us or agree to do something for us pro bono, just because they have a good working relationship with us already. They know who we are. They've had positive experiences working with us in the past, or maybe our organization really impacted them in a positive way when they were younger, and they're just happy to help. So I think my advice, if you do need the pro bono support, is really forging those relationships with the influencers and not just making it, you know, a one-off ask, like, hey, can you make us this video? And then we never speak to them again. So I think that's where like forming those strong relationships really, really come in handy.
Great. All right, next question. What's the difference or benefit to using TikTok versus Reels?
Yeah, so I can jump in here on this one. So it definitely depends, like a lot of things with this process. It depends on sort of the goals. It depends on if you already have an established audience on a certain platform. We've worked with clients in the past where we've found it was beneficial to include within the brief that the influencer can activate, say the influencer has a large presence on both, they can activate on one and cross post to the other. So we would definitely say that there are different benefits to each. We do find that TikTok has that very strong search function with hashtags, where Reels has this sort of, there are multiple tools within Instagram that can give a content creator a lot more leeway to have a holistic content rollout plan. So you have stories, maybe they have sort of like a subscription group. There are different ways, and there is that collaboration tag on Instagram that can be really helpful for your organization if you're trying to gain more followers. That just ensures that when they do post content, your handles appear together. So if someone is following one, it will, you know, one of like the influencer, for example, but they don't follow your organization, it will come up in their feed. And it's just a helpful way to spread the word even further and put yourself in front of newer audiences. So there are definitely benefits to both, and it kind of depends on who you're activating and what the goals of your campaign are.
Great. All right, next question. Does an influencer need to be famous? How heavily does reach/following play into which influencers to work with?
Yeah, so I'll jump in here and have anyone else weigh in. I think, again, it kind of goes back to your goals for your campaign. And a lot of what we talk about with our clients is raising awareness. So influencers and creators really drive awareness. And so those reach numbers, those impression numbers, those follower numbers are really what are going to drive those specific metrics. And so short answer is like, yes, that is a factor, and that may be a factor when it comes to like what it might cost to work with that particular creator or influencer, or the type of results that you want to see. So naturally, a percentage of their audience is going to engage with that content. So we look at not only what those reach numbers are, but like we want to know what their regular engagement numbers are like. We want to know, okay, you're not just followed by a whole bunch of bots or people that you bought. Like we want to know that there's that genuine and authentic connection with that audience, and that this content regularly resonates, and they know how to drive that CTA that we're looking for to drive success for the campaign.
Yeah, and I'll add to, like, I think that how engaged their audience is almost more important than like their reach or their like number of followers. Because someone who has an audience of 1,000 followers, but they're all super excited, they're really engaged, and the influencer's content is like highly related to your goal or your campaign, where it would make sense for their audience. Like, to me, that's even more appealing than an influencer that has 50,000 followers or 100,000 followers, but they're just going to scroll right past this type of content, or maybe they're not actually that engaged or involved in the replies and the comments and things like that. So I always like to look at how engaged their audience is as well. But yeah.
All right, I think we have time for one or two more here. How do you measure influencer campaign success?
Well, again, each case is different. As we just mentioned with partnering with It Gets Better, we were really looking at overall awareness for the profile itself, because it gets better, is focused on storytelling, is really centered in these social media communities. We wanted to make sure that we move the needle on the social media side with those metrics, but we also wanted to drive applications and we wanted to drive submissions. And so we looked at success based on those pieces. In other campaigns, we might be looking at donations. We might be looking at driving traffic to a specific landing page. One of the campaigns we're working with now, we're driving traffic to a specific community. So again, it really depends again on the goals of the campaign. Anyone else want to add anything there?
Yeah, I would say that that sums it up really well. There can be multiple sort of KPIs that we look at, but it's all based from the beginning, the ultimate goals of the campaign. And we try to really work with the brief and the sort of CTAs that we include for the influencer to have a better idea of the messaging, so that those so that we do actually drive specific actions. Sometimes we work with organizations who just want to partner, and they just want, sort of, they're looking at the likes, the comments, the shares, the reach, the impressions. And then sometimes there are organizations who are really trying to get specific on increasing followers in a specific area. So for example, if they have an international audience, but they're really looking to get more visibility and followers and engage with more folks from the US only, that may be, a KPI that we include in a wrap-up deck. So it definitely depends on sort of what the goals from the beginning of the campaign are.
Great. And the last question we have in here before we wrap up, what is the minimum spend for a project like this?
Oh, that is such a tricky question. When we work, when we work with teams, we recommend budgeting at least 18 to 20K for a campaign that may span over the course of 3 to 4 months. And this can include the fees for working with influencers, but that is really us doing the work from start to finish. So the identification phase, the discovery phase, the strategy, activation, ideation and concepting, managing influencers all the way through in terms of drafting up contracts, negotiating with agents, and also paying them, making sure, W-2s and 4s and all of that is collected, as well as the wrap up and reporting phase. So that's kind of a rough number. I like to say that influencer marketing is something we definitely recommend testing out at first for a campaign. You may not feel comfortable just going all in for the year and getting to the point where you have a, evergreen program. So we recommend testing it out with a specific campaign or initiative first, and then building on that, as you go. But yeah, that's, a little bit about working with MC and our fee structure, but we're happy to kind of talk through that and what that looks like, especially in combination with other services, which we really highly recommend, is that you don't just do influencer marketing in isolation. It's really important to have that surround sound happening on your landing page, on your email campaigns, your paid media efforts. There's, overlap there. So we really recommend building this into sort of an integrated approach.
Great. That was our last question. So thank you, Patty, Melvin, and Olivia. And if anybody is interested in learning a little bit more and scheduling a call with Tiffany, we're going to send these slides out. You'll have a link as well. And then I'm also going to drop it in the chat right now in case you'd like to schedule some time. But thank you all for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed the presentation. And like I said, we'll be sending out the slides and the recording shortly after this. So thank you for attending and have a great day.